Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Commonwealth Club of California. Find us on the internet at commonwealthclub.org. This program is part of our Good Lit series, generously underwritten by the Bernard Osher Foundation. And I'm Ewing Duncan, Chief Correspondent for NPR's Biotech Nation and author of the upcoming Experimental Man. Now, in the flyer promoting tonight's panel, Maya Angelou is quoted as saying, "There's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." I'd like to humbly add something, and I say humbly because I'm in awe of her writing, that for some writers, not all, an almost as great agony is to write in isolation. And we're here tonight to talk about not only how writers interact and form networks, but also to celebrate the many ways that writers have pulled themselves together in San Francisco and elsewhere to build communities. Here in this city by the bay, we're blessed with a lot of offerings from a literary standpoint. We have Litquake every year, the San Francisco Writers Grotto, Porchlight, 826 Valencia, the Progressive Reading Series, and it goes on and on and on. And even in the last 10 years that I've lived here, these offerings have proliferated, and it seems like the community grows larger all the time. And one of the most recent and exciting entries, which is why we're here in this whole effort, is redroomdotcom. And I've watched a little bit from the sidelines the development of this program, and it's been fascinating to watch. And we're going to talk a little bit about how this community goes online, essentially, and how that works, and how we use it as writers to promote ourselves, to talk to readers, hopefully, to get feedback. How does this all work? And I'd like to introduce briefly our panelists. I could give long bios, and I think there's more information about them online and other places. Ishmael Reed, who's a novelist, satirist, poet, editor, publisher, playwright, cultural activist, and we could go on and on and on. Belle Yang is the author of The Odyssey of a Manchurian in Baba, A Return to China Upon My Father's Shoulders, which is a beautiful work. Bill Hayes, the author of several books, including The Anatomist, A True Story of Gray's Anatomy, which I loved, and also Sleep Demons, an insomniac's memoir, and I wish I'd thought of that title. Peter Coyote, who is an actor. We've seen him in many, many roles on television and in film. He's also an author. He's written several books, actually, including he's I guess did the foreword to New Buffalo, Journals from the Taoist Commune. And
I've written a lot of forewords.
That's what I have down here, but I know you've actually written some books on your own, with only your own.
I wrote a book called Sleeping Where I Fall.
Yeah, that's the one. We're going to talk about that. And then last but not least, Ivory Madison, the CEO and founder of redroomdotcom. And I'd like to start out with a sort of warm-up question for everyone, just so we can get on the same page here. I want to ask you all, and just please give a fairly brief answer here. If you're a social writer, and I say that as opposed to being the sort of lone wolf, I mean, you know, there are lots of ways you can say you're either this or that as a writer, but I personally need to be around people a lot. In fact, it's somewhat stressful for me to be off by myself writing for too long, even though it's quite a solitary thing to be a writer in many ways. Let's start at the head of the table here, and maybe you can...
I'm not a social writer. I live in Carmel with my folks, my parents, who are in their 80s. I'm sort of their interface because we immigrated to the United States in 1967. So I speak Chinese all day long, and I think in Chinese and English. I read in English, and then at night I read in Chinese. I don't really talk to anybody aside from my parents. So it's great to be on redroom.com and be able to talk to other people.
Okay. Ivory?
Well, about 6.5 years ago, as you know, I founded the Red Room Writers Society, and that was because I couldn't write alone and couldn't figure out why I hadn't written a book yet. And maybe if I got some people together and we all sat in a room together and silently worked on our writing, we would be able to get our writing done. And it worked. And I have my first graphic novel being published finally this fall. But I finished a lot of writing like that, and I still find I can't write by myself.